This episode of Chat EDU is sponsored by the National Center for Next Generation Manufacturing, Dr. Elizabeth Rade. They are still in February 19th through 20th. They're having a little summit there in Miami. How cold was it at your house this morning?
I believe when I got in the car, it was 19 degrees.
19. In the Berkshires in Western Massachusetts, it was like, 10, but the feels like was -7.
Oh, so Miami would be nice.
On February 19th and 20th, 2026, Miami-Dade College, downtown Miami. There are sponsorships from google.org, travel stipends, all sorts of good stuff. Check out www. You love that.
Gosh.
NAAIC.AI.
Yes.
As always, we're thankful for the National Center for Next Generation Manufacturing. Liz, you're back.
I'm back. I've been away for too many weeks, but I'm so happy to be back on the mic.
We said it was a fall tour, so we want to thank, in order, Superintendent Tom Scarice from Westport, Yaron Overeem from New Zealand,
Yes.
and Jonathan Costa from One Floor Down.
Correct.
So we appreciate them all filling in for you while you were away. And now it's just Liz and I for days.
Can't wait.
Yeah, we're together for a while. So Liz, this weekend, right? Michelle and I did something that I think you would love. It was nice and cold. We were in Killington, Vermont. We won a couple nights at a hotel up there.
Oh, fancy.
And, so rather than just skiing downhill, we take our skis and we put these things on the bottom called skins and we clip in and then we climb up the mountain so we can ski down. Wouldn't you love that?
That sounds like my worst nightmare.
So as we were skiing, there were all these little kids, and I kept going by little kids, and they were just screaming, 6'7", 6'7". I mean, it was bizarre.
My younger daughter is still very much in the, like, when she sees it somewhere, like, she'll ask Adam, can I set the heat to 6'7"? And like when she sees it on a temperature or a volume or in anything, she just points it out.
Have you ever asked her what it's about?
Yeah. And she's like, I don't know. It's from like TikTok. And that's all I get. It's so bizarre.
So I saw this just to get us rolling here this morning. I saw that In-N-Out Burger has officially removed 6'7" from its ordering system. Because what happens, they'll say like order 29, order 35. So when they say order 6'7", and they've gotten into it at the In-N-Out Burger, people lose their mind. The kids all like scream in the restaurant and it's gotten out of control.
6'7".
But my favorite thing is that Arby's on Twitter or X from People Magazine, In-N-Out officially removes the number 6'7" from its ordering system, given the viral 6'7" trend. And Arby's just post cowards.
I love when those like the fast food chains kind of dig at each other. I love it.
Yeah, it's awesome. Well, with that, Liz, it's great to have you back. And I am Matt Mervis.
And I am Liz Rade.
Right here. And this is Chat EDU, the AI in Education podcast.
In this week's episode, the college essay is not dead. AI just changed the rules. I get to talk to Stacy Brook about her role in helping students write their college essays in this new AI world.
Fantastic. So first we'll do this week's rundown of the news. And of course, we will end with another Bright Bite. Fantastic. All right, Liz, let's start with a tool. You've been away, so I haven't had anyone to, kind of give challenges to. Although it's interesting, in the beginning of the last episode, Jonathan, I said, Jonathan, you want to start with something fun? Because I was doing like advanced voice mode, something about the Torrington Country Club. And he goes, it always feels like it's fun for you and not fun for whoever's sitting in this chair.
And he is right. Yeah. Although this one was fun.
Good.
Okay, so Google has updated its experimental AI tool called Mixboard to automatically generate full slide presentations from brainstorming boards using its Nano Banana Pro image models. So new features include automatic slide creation from notes and images, selfie integration, PDF uploads, and a doodle to edit tool for visual edits via sketches. So users can now manage multiple boards per project, and Mixboard is accessible via Google Labs.
Yeah, super cool. That wasn't hard to get to. Like I have a Google Labs account, but I was able to get right on Mixboard. By the way, I forgot to mention, if you watch on Spotify or YouTube numbers have been going up, which is great. You can see on the table here, Liz, is what?
Is a very festive holiday plant with a congratulations on your book balloon.
Yeah, your book is sold out.
Well, it's sold out on Amazon, and let's not get excited. We don't know how many copies they had. Maybe they only had one and my mom bought it.
Can we still use RADDAY30 as a discount code?
Until the end of the month, I asked them to extend it.
That's RADDAY 30.
at ASCD.
Okay, perfect.
Yes, on ASCD.
All right, great. Now, so you were a champ and you tried out this said Mixboard thing. Andre will drop you a link here so that you can grab an image, but walk us through it. What did you do?
Yeah, so I started by telling Mixboard that I needed some merch for the Chat EDU podcast. That
which is not really a thing, but go ahead.
Why not?
All right, carry on.
So we needed some branded, clothing to wear for when we record.
Okay.
And so I started with giving it just our logo and said, make me 7 different options. And I picked the 2 that I liked the best because they actually were loyal to the logo. There were other ones that took the logo and did some stuff with it. So I wasn't excited about those. So then I uploaded my headshot and said, put me in each of these t-shirts. And it did take a little finagling, it wasn't following all the directions, but eventually it did. So I have me in this lovely blue long-sleeved Chat EDU shirt and in a white t-shirt.
You look awesome. It's great.
And then I went to the one picture I had of you on my phone. You seem to have lots of pictures of me that you can play with, but I have a picture of you also from when we were out in Oregon standing with a fisherman statue.
Yes, exactly.
And I asked it to put the Chat EDU shirt on you, which it also did a great job. Yeah. Then I asked it to put us both together, and it's not as great. It's little funky.
A little staged.
Yeah, it looks, I don't blend in as well. But, just I watched the video of what someone did to show how to use it, and they had put jeans on and put some embroidery on the jeans and then put the jeans on me. So that was kind of where I was going with this. You recommended that I do some fiber artsy things, and I am really not a creative person. I just follow directions well, so I didn't even know where to start there. But
hey, listen, I love the creative marketing twist. So this is like a marketing communications thing, almost like a little Pinterest inspired, but I think you could see all sorts of really interesting classroom applications for this. I don't think this is FERPA compliant for the students, but I think teachers could probably do all sorts of ideation and brainstorming about a project and kind of build some mixed boards around it. And also a nice opportunity to talk about AI ethics, because clearly, as is the case with all things Nano Banana, you're essentially creating very easy deep fakes at some level. So it's a nice opportunity for students to understand what's real, what's not, how do we represent that? Do we, make sure that that's communicated clearly and the like? I
mean, that picture of you wearing the Chat EDU t-shirt next to the fisherman, you couldn't tell that that's not real.
Yeah, I'll have to send these to you. We had our superintendent and principal, our AI leaders conference here on Friday, a couple days ago, and I absolutely took Jonathan and put him in all sorts of funny on the Tour de France podium and a white Saturday Night Fever outfit. Actually, you know what? It's so good, Andre. I'll give you that one too, and we can put that in for the Chat EDU listener.
Nice.
Yeah, thank you for playing along. Very cool. And so that's Mixboard. We'll put in a link in the show notes.
Yeah.
Now, Liz, we have something interesting. This is kind of like a Beyond the Bot challenge, right? So this is where students or adults are using AI to solve real-world problems. It's slightly meta because the problem they're trying to solve is how to make education better with AI. So this is the Create+AI challenge from Stanford Accelerator for Learning. This is backed by Google and Stanford. Tell us about this one, Liz. $400K on the line, by the way.
Yeah, so this is a grant competition that offers $400,000 for projects using AI to augment, not automate human potential in education. So that's really important. So it calls for human-centered AI that expands access, agency, and connection, putting educators and learners at the heart of this design. So it's really open competition. It's open to educators, students, technologists, nonprofits, with at least one Stanford-affiliated member.
That is the hitch. You got to have somebody from Stanford on the team.
But the challenge does have 3 tracks. One is the augment teaching track, where you're creating tools that reduce teacher workload and strengthen student relationships. So not just making work easier, but also, creating student relationships.
Which Tom Screes talked about on the podcast in their strategic plan for Westport. I think he was exploring that AI can actually build more human-centered relationships. That's a big theme for them.
Yeah.
I love it. All right, so that's the augment teaching track. Then we have the augment learning track.
Yeah, so these are inclusive tools that increase participation, especially for students with learning disabilities or differences. And then there's a third one that's augment career opportunities, which is AI for mentoring, skill building, and meaningful career pathways.
Very cool. I did like a special little webinar thing for a group in Guilford, Connecticut. They have this huge, really cool mentoring program. They've been running it for 30 years, hundreds and hundreds of mentors.
For students?
It's mentors, who just mentor a student. They go through all the background checks and they have a whole curriculum to get them on board and what have you. Yeah, we put up actually, if folks are interested, we put up a prompt library for the mentors at skills21.org/prompts/mentors. I should probably put it on the main prompt page. Pretty neat stuff. So, maybe there'd be some generative ideas there. And so this is a competition. Folks can win. It's coming up pretty quickly. I think applications are due on January 8th, so just around the corner.
Yeah, we'll put a link in the show notes about where to find information about that.
It's interesting that so many of these Beyond the Bots, you and I have been collecting lots and lots of stories about students and adults using AI to solve real-world problems. It is interesting that so many of these are kind of with a competition.
Yes.
Which is cool.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's motivating. I mean, who doesn't like to win a competition? I mean, competition is super motivating for me, not for everybody.
Right. All right, Liz, 2 stories from the research desk.
Ooh.
I thought about you a lot on this first one. So this is Anthropic. Anthropic basically built an AI interviewer. So do you occasionally do interviews as a qualitative research specialist?
Absolutely.
I believe you're the head of the research and innovation team.
I am. I lead the whole team. And man, is it a team to wrangle.
So it's a small team. We won't say any more than that. So Anthropic basically built, not a shocker here, the folks who make Claude, built a version of Claude that conducts the actually large-scale adaptive interviews. So they trained it to do the interviews. Are you feeling job threat around this, or do you think this is cool? Or
No, I think it's pretty cool. And actually, did you play with it on Thought Exchange? Because Thought Exchange has a similar feature where after you attend a conference or something, they also have an adaptive interviewer to get more information from you.
I should have used that for the summative survey I just sent out 5 seconds ago for our leadership conference on Friday. All right. So, actually, Thought Exchange, by the way, folks, is a tool we use a lot in the agency. They'd be a wonderful sponsor. Really, really interesting tool to kind of crowdsource ideas and get input, but they're doing lots of cool AI stuff on the back end of that platform, apparently including interviewing. All right. So Anthropic launches this interviewer, interviews 1,200 folks at Anthropic, asked them about their use of AI. There's a lot of interesting insights, right? These chats ran for about 10 to 15 minutes on Claude, customized version, and found a number of interesting things. You want to run us through the findings?
Yeah. So the general workforce is really using it. So AI is boosting productivity, but does raise job security concerns. So users are seeking to retain the identity-driven tasks and automate the routine ones. And this is just going to be the story of AI for a long time.
Especially at Anthropic, where they're building Claude Code is an amazing coding tool.
Right.
So this is a very common theme. I think I'm building the thing that may be putting me out of a job.
Yeah.
Right. So we have to think about what is the next level up on which is kind of, I think, identified there. These identity-driven tasks are really about their personal leaning into their personal human capacity. All right, what else we have?
Yeah, so creatives said 97% of creatives report time saving, but face peer stigma and fear of creative displacement. Scientists are using AI for writing code, but not core research because of that trust and reliability that is going to be a barrier for a while. And then augmentation is definitely preferred over automation. So in the interviews, they got 65% prefer augmentation over 35% with automation. But if you actually look at usage logs, it looks like it's closer to a 50-50 split of what people are doing with it.
I thought that was fascinating. We talk all the time about the kind of clerk, colleague, and coach thing, which is another way, clerk tasks are typically automatable task and colleague is more augmentation. But when you ask ChatGPT, what are my buckets? What do I do? So it is interesting that people almost, I don't know if you want to believe that you're using it as more a thought partner to really extend your human capabilities or what the case may be. Now, there was a new piece just out today, or actually, sorry, today's the 15th, but out on the 13th, Emily Peck from Axios, she unpacked a very specific thread that I wanted to pull out here about AI in the workplace. And we've actually seen this in higher education as well. We did a story about how the use of AI for students is meaning less office hour visits with college professors, but also just like the message
Study
boards where
groups,
people and
message
working with
boards,
mentors have gone a little quiet. And it looks like that's the case here, even in Anthropic. This is an in-person work environment, but nonetheless, it seems like chatbots are almost impacting or further impacting this loneliness that we've seen through remote work. So tell us about this.
Yeah. So remote work in general is reducing daily human interaction. And then chatbots are replacing coworkers for mentorship, brainstorming, quick questions. So we're seeing productivity rise, which is great, but workers are reporting fewer collaboration and mentorship moments. There's growing loneliness and weaker relationships with colleagues. Surveys show many white-collar workers feel closer to AI than coworkers, which raises concerns that organizations may become efficient but fractured. Some experts argue AI can supplement but not replace human connection, but critics warn that over-reliance on agreeable bots removes the healthy friction that drives better ideas and teamwork. I think about this so much because, we work both in person and remotely. And, there are certainly things that I go to AI now for that I might have in the past sent you a text or sent one of our teammates a text. And now like I can get a faster answer from AI and I can kind of say like, here's my solution and then just get approval rather than,
Sure.
Talking things through. But even in, our agency, relationships have been the thing that has been so important. And that's how we build our work is around having relationships. And if schools can do the same thing by instead of having to come to us as a thought partner and just going to AI as a thought partner, like, are we going to see decreasing value or the thought that we are decreasing in value as well? Although we also like the relationship is so important.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. I was thinking about not quite the same thing, even just our own micro-credential. I think it's not a binary. There's going to be a lot of different learning paths. I think because AI is such a sensitive topic, right? It's really touching. It is, we'll talk about this in a second, but it is a wicked problem and a wicked opportunity. It's multifaceted. It's complex. I think it really requires deep, and whether it's us or somebody else, I think it requires people with some level of expertise, and we're all figuring this out together, working human to human, peer to peer around this. I also think that you can structure these things. One of the things, there's a story we won't get to today, but there's a guy named Sean Aries. This was in The Conversation. The headline was "How I Rehumanized the College Classroom for the AI Augmented Age." He essentially just talks about, listen, I've created a lot of structures in my classroom where kids are collaborating. Kids are, he's built intentionality and measures and assesses students working together in collaborative ways in their projects. The same way your personal interest project, we could have built your personal interest project to be like, head down, I got my blinders on, I'm going. But there are 12 activities and 8 of them require students to collaborate with other students.
Right.
So I think, look, if we really value human-to-human collaboration and connection, and we're seeing AI erode some of that, we just have to build in structures organizationally as schools, as agencies, as businesses to make sure that's still there. I don't personally experience it. Like I hang out with you plenty. I'm just teasing. But I do certainly use AI all the time as a collegial support. But At some level, I don't know, I think that just gives me more time to like have thornier conversations like the one you're just raising. Would be fascinating. We just sit here for half an hour and think about like what's our role in a world where people are using AI in these different kinds of ways.
Yeah.
So I'm down, but I think it does require some intentional design from people in leadership positions, which again is sort of what Tom Screese was talking a little bit about in their strategic plan. All right, are you down for another report real quick?
I am.
I knew this day was going to come. Ethan Mollick's been teasing this on LinkedIn for a while. He's like, I don't know how long this role thing's going to hold up. Yeah.
Yep.
And we'll see, right? But this is the first pretty significant study. This is Prompting Science Report, Playing Pretend. Expert personas don't improve factual accuracy. So this is, if you look at our prompt library, one after the next, you're an expert curriculum designer. I mean, it's all the way down to like, you're a world-class developer of subplans,
right.
With a prompt about subplans. I don't think we're going to need to go into all the details here. I'd rather just we'll put in the link to Axios. You can check out the story. But Mollick et al., and it's a bunch of et als, make a case that this type of prompting isn't effective. Now, what they do point out, though, is that all the rest of whatever your acronym is, and you've got one,
right.
I can't
clear
remember. Yeah. I mean, but still, that like super clear task, lots of context, enough context that there's enough meat to go back and forth or say to the chatbot, what are the questions that you need to have addressed with or without a role so that you can be effective. So I want to be careful that we are saying, yes, one part that we imagine for a while in an effective prompt design may be fading. I was doing a demo, though, of the student AI literacy course this morning for a wonderful someone who listens to Chat EDU all the time, a principal in New Jersey. And we were just talking about this. It's like, because one of your first activities in prompting is, I think it's called like how to talk to a chatbot.
Yes.
And it must have role in there, right?
Right about role.
Sorry, Cam, we're going to update that video. I'm going to wait a beat, right? One study is one study.
And I mean, I don't think it's hurting, right? And maybe it may even help the person who's writing the prompt to reflect about, who are you asking, or who would be the ideal person to answer this? So, I mean, I don't think it's hurting. And so if it helps you structure prompts, like, keep doing it.
Well, I think it's a really interesting point you raised, because at some level, it is conditioning the person that this is not Google, right?
Right.
You're entering into a dialogue. And if by saying you have this persona will help you go back and forth and provide lots of context, which is where all the good stuff is going to happen, I think that's going to be helpful. I was listening to this great interview with Sergey Brin yesterday about what he does and his work, and he's very involved still in Google. But his like most common use case is talking to Gemini in the car. And I was like, I felt so vindicated.
Yeah.
People think I'm nuts. You know what else he said? It was really interesting, Liz. He goes, I talked to Gemini on the car. I'm like, I need to build a data center and just go back and forth, right? And he said, but don't use the current version we have. The current version is old and it's really junk. The new version that we're coming is going to be unbelievable. So I was like, I love that these guys have like a totally different set of tools.
Yeah, they're using like a different level of tool.
Yeah, super interesting interview. All right. So speaking of folks, big thinkers, right? I'd say Ethan Mollick is certainly up there. Another person we turn to a lot is Justin Reich and Jesse Dukes. They work together, and they've been kicking this idea around. We may have even covered a version of this story before. This is in Phi Delta Kappan. Do you read Kappan online regularly?
I can't say that I do.
Oh, come on. Dr. Elizabeth Reddy. This is the future of education technology after the arrival of ChatGPT. And the hint there is in the word arrival, right?
Yeah, this was really interesting. So they have kind of come up with this new category called arrival technology, which are tools that enter schools without planning, procurement, or training, driven instead by spontaneous student and teacher use. So like ChatGPT that just dropped into everybody's world on November 30th, 2022. Mm-hmm. So drawing on interviews with 35 teachers nationwide during the 2023-24 school year, they showed how generative AI bypassed all those traditional like ed tech adoption processes, which left educators to kind of retroactively manage cheating concerns and pedagogy and equity issues and had little support. So they contrast this with like structured adoption, which is when, there is the process of adopting a new tool and kind of rolling it out.
Sure, you got whiteboards. It's like we're going to procure the whiteboards. We're going to train on the whiteboards. We're going to pilot the whiteboards.
And you knew it was coming and you knew what was going to happen. Plenty of technology and platforms. My kids did a lot of IXL in middle school. Same thing. It didn't and it was kind of top-down driven. So they call for this new theory on arrival technology to help guide the research that's going to come out, the policy, the professional learning, and the decision-making, including some possibilities that some technologies should be actively resisted rather than inevitably integrated, which that's the tricky thing. And, how do you resist technology that gets into the kids' hands and the teachers' hands before you have time to make any decisions?
Both Justin Reich and Jesse Dukes have been doing a ton of really good thinking and podcasting around this, so I very much appreciate that frame. There is this thread in their work where they talk about resistance, and they talk about with teachers a lot about resistance. I think that is tricky. I mean, yes, we should all talk about it, but at the same time, I don't know how you resist something. We're going to cover a story next week, but the workplace adoption is off the charts. The government, municipal adoption is off the charts. with all the cautions about hallucinations and bias and deepfakes and all this stuff,
Right.
it's
People are
still
using it.
very much present, right? I mean, there was a story that I just saw this morning. Purdue University approves a new AI requirement for all undergrads. And that's higher ed, my friends, right? You and I are working a lot on K-12, AI literacy, and assured experiences. But I think that the resistance movement, while appropriate and spirited, could be a little bit tricky. I would say one of the things that I think gets lost in we'll see if there's another arrival technology. It arrived in part because of all the other foundation built on top of it, right? Or it was built on top of, right? You have the internet, you've got, mobile phones, you've got high-speed mobile data access. So, ChatGPT was able to get here quickly because of this. And maybe there'll be another arrival. I mean, let's say smartboards were arrival technology. The difference is that this is also a wicked problem, right?
Yeah. I mean, I just think of, because there were so many easy applications to school. Like I think of TikTok was an arrival technology, right? But it didn't have the same kind of application in school. And so teachers have kind of leaned into it and said oh, one way to assess you might be make a 30-second TikTok about X, Y, or Z, or write a tweet that your character might write. And so teachers have leaned into that technology, but it didn't disrupt the education field the same way that AI did.
Exactly. That's the hook. It is so disruptive, right? Because there's opportunity, but there's all the downside challenge. When we think just about the academic integrity problem or issue or whatever you want to call it, you and I talk about 5 things schools can work on around that. From strand 1 might be AI ethics and guidelines and AI literacy. Strand 2 might be re-envisioning classroom assessments. Strand 3 might be what do we do about out of school assessments. Strand 4 might be actually changing the assessments and making them more durable. Strand 5 is about AI literacy. But those all sound like technical moves. I mean, John did a really nice workshop about this, adaptive leadership versus technical leadership. Mm-hmm. But these are all adaptive problems. They don't require AI ethics by itself is yes, you can teach AI ethics, but people need to believe something differently. A kid needs to believe that when they use AI as an enabler, it's great. And when they use AI as a shortcut, they're cheating themselves.
Right.
That's tough, right?
Especially with teenagers. I mean, that's what I'm seeing in my own house. And, it's hard.
I was kind of inspired by this. So I've been playing around with a lot of gems, obviously. So for last Friday workshop, I just want to try it here for a second with you. We'll see how it does. But I built an adaptive leadership gem where I describe this idea of a wicked problem. And there are other wicked problems.
Cell phones.
Yeah, cell phones are sort of a wicked problem, right? But I mean, global warming, we don't know how this ends. It's so multifaceted. Urban poverty, affordable housing in Great Barrington, Massachusetts, or anywhere else, around the world. And so they're and unfortunately, AI and academic integrity is kind of that stuff, and I think we have to look at it that way. So I asked Gemini, I built a bunch of custom instructions, said, hey, can you build an adaptive wicked problem thing for this whole issue of academic integrity, but recognizing it is. And the prompt basically just says, let's go, right? That's how it starts. So here, let me play this a little bit.
To help you navigate the shift regarding AI in your institution. This is a profound adaptive challenge.
I like this voice.
Not merely a technical one. To start, how would you describe the current temperature of the conversation at your school? Are people mostly afraid of cheating? Or are they curious about what comes next?
Let's go glass half empty, okay?
Okay, yeah, they're super afraid of cheating.
Yeah, they're super afraid of cheating.
I hear that panic. It's a very common reaction to such a rapid disruption. It feels like the foundation of learning is eroding, and that anxiety is real. When fear takes over, the natural inclination is to look for a quick technical fix, a detector, a ban, or a new policy. However, banning is often a temporary solution for a much deeper adaptive issue.
Yeah, so this is fun. We won't kind of spend all the time here going through it. I'll drop the link to the gem in the show notes, and I think this is just a fun strategy to think about using gems in different skill building or exploration ideas. I've been doing them a little bit more in my PD, but I do think, we'll just leave the problem on the field here. But it is important as we think about this being an arrival technology, we also realize it's an arrival technology that's super complicated. It's one of the reasons to your question of why we can't just talk to our AI friend as a staff to figure out what to do, because this is complicated. It requires human beings thinking these things through together. Yeah. So, all right, Liz, so there's all sorts of stuff going on here today. There's a holiday party. You've got another meeting on some workforce development stuff we're going to do. So Liz and I are going to take a little break in the action.
I just did a great interview with Stacey Brooks on college essay writing in the age of AI.
I love it. So yeah, another good example of the same challenge.
Yeah.
So we're going to go do that. Then we're going to reconvene and we're going to talk a little bit about a Bright Bite, and then we'll get together again next week. Oh my God, I can't believe it.
I know, 2 weeks in a row.
If you enjoy our insights on AI and education, don't miss out on our next 6-week AI and education micro-credential launching this winter in partnership with Southern Connecticut State University. This self-paced online course for educators and leaders in primary, secondary, and higher education across the globe covers AI essentials from foundational concepts to advanced skills like prompting, AI-driven assessments, and multimedia creation. We've added a bunch of new content for the winter cohort, including a focus on emerging risks like AI companions, energy, and the environment. We'll dive into the latest on Notebook LM, which could be a course unto itself. There are new student AI literacy resources in the Future Focus module, as well as important updates on student-facing tools like custom gems and guided learning in Gemini. And finally, we've added Google Vids to our great collection of multimedia AI tools that we cover. Each cohort includes 4 live Zoom sessions for hands-on support, and participants earn a Credly digital credential upon completion. Visit skills21.org/AI/micro to sign up now.
All right, listeners, I am so excited to do our next interview. Today, I get to talk to the amazing Stacy Brook, and she and I met a few weeks ago and had such a great conversation around college admissions, college essay writing, and we know that it is a topic that our listeners, especially those in the classroom, are thinking about a ton, all of our district leaders. So we thought we would have Stacy on to talk college admissions and essay writing, college essay writing. So Stacy, why don't we start with you just telling us a little bit about yourself, how you landed in this space, and how, I mean, we're going to talk tons about AI, but
yes. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here. And I'm excited to talk college essays with you. So I founded a company called College Essay Advisors 20 plus years ago now, which feels crazy to me. But that's when I acquired collegeessayadvisors.com, which I did kind of on a whim after a few years of just kind of doing independent college essay consulting. I started with, I'm the oldest of 3. I have 2 younger siblings, so I kind of helped them with their essays, and then friends of theirs asked me for help, and siblings of friends, and friends of friends of friends. And at some point I said, I should probably start charging for this. It might be nice to make a couple dollars. And I did this all throughout college while I was studying communications at Boston University. And I graduated with a degree in marketing and public relations, which it turns out is pretty handy in helping to brand people as they look to apply to college. It's sort of an exercise in personal branding, I think. And I always love the personal essay as a form. It's the form I choose to write in when I'm doing my own writing outside of College Essay Advisors. So it kind of just felt like a really natural fit, and I fell into it. And when I started doing this, when I started out earning my advertising salary in my first couple of years in the workforce, I decided to make this a full-time job. There was no such thing as a college essay consultant. There were SAT tutors. The ACT wasn't even popular back then. So
right,
it was pretty much just the SAT tutors, and maybe some general college consulting, but helping students work on the essay was something that was pretty new. And I really feel like I kind of entered that space at the right time, because it also happened to be around the time that schools started asking students for specialized supplemental essays, which over the past 10, 15 years have become pervasive, much more popular, and much more unwieldy in terms of their scope and number for students to take care of. So it just kind of grew organically. And I love what I do. I love working with teenagers. I love teaching writing and hearing people's stories. And I feel like I kind of go on a new adventure with a new person every day.
That's so awesome. So being in this space for over 20 years, like, it's obviously changed a lot. But what in the last few years made you realize, or made you kind of lean into AI when a lot of people around writing are leaning out?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a pretty practical person, and I try not to run away from what I perceive to be inevitable shifts in the way things work. And change is scary, but I also think you can't escape it. And I find, at least I found, it's almost always better to wrap your arms around the challenge of familiarizing yourself with the new, as opposed to fighting it. And also, if you understand new developments in technology like AI, you can assess for yourself, decide for yourself whether or not you believe they're valuable, as opposed to just kind of taking people's word for it. So when AI started to become more widespread, I tried the tools. I use them for various tasks in my business. Not actual essay advising ever, of course, but I found they were very useful with brainstorming marketing ideas and writing standard emails and just time-saving, efficiency-oriented things. And I did play with it in terms of just seeing what would happen if I put myself in the shoes of a student and tried to write a personal essay to test the abilities of these engines. And I found them actually to be wildly ineffective. The writing was robotic, the facts and the stories were inaccurate, but I did see the value in using these tools to help generate ideas, not writing, but creative concepts. And knowing that the technology was inevitably going to be adopted by many and seeing that so many of my students were already playing with it, I wanted to think about how students could leverage the technology as a guide instead of as something that did work for them.
Right. Yeah. You focus a lot on finding a unique hook in your essays. And I work with a lot of students too around essay writing as a little side gig. And
Love
because
it.
I love writing this college essay. Like it just
Right.
the experience to hear from teenagers and what they're thinking about and what they what they think is important to them to share with a college admissions officer is just so interesting and helping them find that hook. So I've done dozens and dozens of essays over the last, my own, 20 years. And I always focus so strongly on that first paragraph. Like, this is your chance to make them keep reading. So can you think of some of your favorite like hooks or an essay that was like so weird that you don't think an AI would have ever come up with it?
Absolutely. One of my favorite hooks of all time is from a student who wrote about his relationship with his father and how that impacted kind of his motivation and his goals. And they both climbed mountains together. And the opening line for this essay was, "Most people have 10 toes, my father has 5." And so
Wow.
I'm sorry, my father has 9. He didn't lose 5 toes. He lost 1 toe. That's still a lot of toes to lose. Most people have 10 toes. My father has 9. No matter what you feed into AI, it will not give you that opening sentence. It just won't. It doesn't have that sense of humor. It doesn't have that feel for the dramatic, that sort of that cleverness. It won't get you there. And it might not even prompt you for the details that get that much story out of you, those kinds of anecdotes. The tool we made, I think, will, but generally ChatGPT is not going to ask you what it needs to ask you or prompt you for that kind of specificity. So that's one of my all-time favorite openers is Dad's Toes. But even in terms of brainstorming, pulling out stories, things that AI might not be able to recognize, general AI as interesting. I remember I was working with a student once who we had 3 brainstorming phone calls and we were just like banging our heads against the wall trying to figure out what this student could write about. And then in the 4th call, he told me that he farmed oysters on the weekends. Just like random casual mention. And I was like, what? Who does that?
Right.
Like
Why
most
have you not
people
mentioned
don't.
This?
Most people don't. And I find students often don't recognize what might be interesting about them. And it helps for a human to hold up a mirror and say, like, I know this feels commonplace to you, but most people don't do this and it's not commonplace at all. So There have been many situations like that where after a while, someone will tell me a detail about themselves where I'm like, this is cool. I know you don't think this is cool, but it's really cool to a person who doesn't live your life every day.
Yeah.
So I think those kinds of stories are always interesting. And then I also think kind of zoning in on a small piece of a larger story is something that AI doesn't necessarily have the instinct or capability to do. Like I was working with a football player and almost his entire activity list was football related. And but he didn't want to write about football, and I didn't want him to write about football in a straightforward way. And what he ended up writing about was what it was like to watch himself back on tape after the games and how that helped him build resilience, the ability to take criticism, the ability to take ownership over his actions, also how to be proud of himself and lead with confidence. It's an essay about football that's not about football at all.
Right.
So I think that's where that nuance AI misses entirely.
Yeah. I'm thinking about some of my favorite stories, and I've worked with a lot of my cousins and their kids. And one of my cousins wrote about Crocs, the shoe.
Love
and
it.
that, like, as soon as her mom said, put on your Crocs, it meant an adventure was coming. And
I
like
love it.
her whole story was about Crocs. Like AI couldn't
Incredible.
write
It's a great
an
hook.
incredible story about Crocs.
Or give the guidance that, I mean, it might be able to give the guidance, but it can't find those details for you. That what you're looking for is really something that serves as a microcosm of your universe and who you are. It can be a symbol. It doesn't have to be everything about your life. It needs to be something that's exemplary of who you are, how you operate. I think that's the almost always the challenge in finding a useful, successful, personal, authentic topic for students.
Right. Yeah. Well, and this essay seems to be for kids is the weightiest thing they've ever written. This is not
Yes.
an interaction and an exchange between a student and a teacher. This,
Mhm.
for them, is going to, in some ways, when you're 18, you think this is going to determine the rest of your life. And
Right.
looking back now, we know that,
Yes.
where you go to college is part of your story, but
Right.
it is not the be all and end all. But it is, when you're 18, it's very
Yes.
important. It's probably the most important thing you write up until that point in your life.
Although I do love trying to talk students out of feeling that way, even though I don't know that I've ever been successful, but I really try to hammer home the message that it's going to be okay no matter what happens. And I mean, I talk about this all the time, especially during results-oriented parts of the season, but failure is good. Failure is healthy. Not getting exactly what you want at 18 is like builds so much character. It shows you that you will be okay no matter what happens, that unexpected paths are so rewarding that, again, I know it's very hard to accept not getting what you want, especially when you work so hard if you're a high achiever. But ultimately, I take a little bit of comfort in knowing that usually for most people, like falling down and getting back up again and learning how to do that when you're young is pretty advantageous to you later in life.
Yeah, it's huge. And I myself did not get into where I wanted to go and did not get in early where I applied. And I mean, I was devastated to not be going where I wanted to go and to be going to my quote unquote safety school. And I just, it did have a huge impact on me and changed my life and was absolutely the right place and where I was supposed to be. And, but it's hard. It's hard.
Yes, it is. It is. And there's so much pressure that comes from the outside world, the media, your peers, it's a rough game.
Yeah. Yeah. But let's shift and talk a little bit about College SAI, which is College ESSAI. So tell us a little bit about, this is your AI platform and how you built it, why you built it, how it works. Tell us all about it.
Yes.
It's really cool.
I'm so excited about this tool. We had so much fun making it. It's our baby, and it is crafted of all of the lessons and tips and tricks that we've learned over the years. It's essentially an AI tool that's trained on 20 plus years of collective experience of mine and my staff's. and kind of pulls together all of the things that we use, all of the processes we use to guide students through the process of writing the college admissions essay. It's based on something I call the uncommon college essay process, which is detailed in a book that I just released. It takes students through 4 phases. We call them brainstorming, free writing, story sculpting, and editing. The tool is designed to elicit your best stories, qualities, and strengths and help you get them on the page. It prompts you, but only you create the content. The tool has absolutely no generative qualities. It does not write anything for the student. It has major parameter checks on that. Even in editing, it will make suggestions to you about what you might do to enhance your content, but it won't give you potential solutions. You have to come up with the words. And that's the most critical way in which this is an ethical tool. It actually is. I was just talking to a friend of mine whose child used the tool, and they were saying that it is actually a lot of work to go from beginning to end on College SAI, as it should be. You're still writing an essay. It's going to help you write a better, more specific, more personal, more impactful, more meaningful, more memorable essay, but you still have to put in a ton of elbow grease to get where you need to go. And that makes sense because you need to generate the content for it to be successful, I think.
How does it do with, reluctant writers? I've worked with a lot of students with learning disabilities, and how do you get that student, or how does SAI help that student who wants to answer the question in 1 sentence? Or, if you tell them to write an essay, they give you a paragraph.
Absolutely. One of the strategies that we use, and this is pervasive throughout all modules of the tool, is we break things down into much smaller, more bite-sized prompts. So you're not responding to one of the 7 options for the personal statement. Instead, you're responding to questions like, what activities or interests or subjects make you lose track of time? And you have a word minimum that you need to give, but it's not a 600-word minimum. It's a 100-word minimum. It's a 50-word minimum, depending on where you are in our process. So you're asked, and then you will get a follow-up question generated by AI related to your response that helps pull more information out of you. So, for example, if we ask that question, what activities, interests, or subjects make you lose track of time? And someone gives a response that leaves you wanting. I lose track of time when I hang out with my friends and we watch TV and show each other memes and TikToks. And I love kicking back with my buddies in the basement and having a good time, drinking soda, talking about life and stuff. College SAI will come back to you saying, that sounds like a really relaxing way to spend time with your friends. When you're in those moments in your basement, sharing videos and talking about life, is there a particular conversation or experience you've had with your friends that felt meaningful or that revealed something about yourself that you hadn't realized before? It will invite you to think about the deeper moments that blend into the background of everyday life. And it will keep doing that until it gets something from you that feels substantive. So I think letting students get the gobbledygook out, I mean, even when I'm writing for myself, just giving a little bit of space to just kind of riff and not worry about whether what you're writing is good is so helpful in just getting the wheels turning. And then the questions themselves in the app will get more specific and more insightful in terms of what they're asking for that will actually be relevant to you, showcasing your strengths, your best qualities, and just try to pull out things that are more meaningful maybe than your initial responses might be.
Yeah. How did you train the AI to do that so that it is, the story of sitting in your basement is the story, like, so many of my students are like, I don't like anything. I just hang out with my friends. And then,
Totally.
and, I've worked with so many students. I don't have anything I'm interested in. I don't like, I don't know what I want to write about.
100%. I mean, persistence is key with asking students to write about anything. So in terms of how we actually train the model, that's our secret sauce. But I will say that our general philosophy is really to try to ask students questions that are approachable and ask enough of them to the point where something accidentally will spill out. I always say that we trick people into writing college essays. I think without the pressure of feeling like you need to sit down with a blank page and write 600 words that all seamlessly knit themselves together, you feel like you can be a little more free. And that's the voice that you want in the personal statement anyway. You want it to be more conversational. You want it to be a little bit less academic, a little bit lighter, a little bit looser. So we're prompting students with questions that we're hoping will get them in that zone. And again, take the pressure off them knowing how things need to be sewn together. All we want initially is to get a smattering of decent ideas that then we can turn into and expand into a smattering of like really interesting free writes that we can then organize and put together. So we're just breaking the process down into digestible pieces, really.
Yeah, I think that's so interesting with that. It's something that AI is so good at, is breaking things down into smaller pieces. And when you train AI to keep probing students, and we have our own AI that lives within our personal interest project platform, where again, students have a lot of trouble coming up with like, what am I going to do this project on? And we have a bot for brainstorming. And it's like, so tell me something you're interested in. Give me 3 things. And they can be totally random. I'm into anime and I'm into true crime podcasts and I'm into quilting or doing crafts and like, but none of those are a project yet. And how do you, the same way they're not a essay yet, that blank page problem is something that we have all dealt with as, you know, it's not just the college essay. It's every essay you have to write. It's every project you have to do. It's every, you know, as a employee, it's, you know, every email I have to write. And so,
exactly.
You know, just I've found AI so helpful in getting me past that blank page. And, you know, you talk a lot about how the tool gets you past that, but it's not doing the heavy lifting. And do you see kids, and maybe you don't know, but do you see kids talking about how they've translated what they've learned with AI from your work in essays to like how they're using it in school or post high school?
It's a little early just because this is our first season and the product is brand spanking new, but I will come back and tell you because we are going to talk to everybody that used it and really try to get as much feedback as possible. And this tool will continue to evolve. But when we work with students one-on-one, one of my main goals is to impart actual writing tools and lessons that can be then applied in the environment you're about to go to where you need to write every single day. So I think if students were applying these skills to other assignments, that would make my life complete. That's the goal. The goal is to try to, I mean, when I get stuck on my own work, I fall back to this process and these tools myself. I will ask myself, I will break down whatever story I'm trying to tell and ask myself smaller questions and see what comes out if I just really don't know what I'm doing that day. So I think these are tactics that definitely can be applied to a wide range of assignments.
Yeah, I think that's my hope too for anything that we show the students with AI is like, now it's not just for this one assignment, this one thing. Take it with you. Like, where can you go?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Are you seeing students, on the other hand, saying like, either I'm not using AI because I'm afraid of it, or I'm not using AI because it's not ethical, or, I mean, we're also hearing certain schools say you absolutely cannot use AI in your essays. And so maybe they're a little like, well, is this using AI for my essays? So where do you see the students on the other side?
Oh, there was so much fear. So much fear. I think the landscape is dominated by fear of admissions thinking you used AI when you didn't, is using college SAI too much? Is that ethical if a school is saying don't use AI at all for anything generative? Like, how do I know? I mean, we had a mom call us this year saying my son just submitted his essays and he used AI and I'm afraid they're going to know. Like, what do I do? I said, I have no idea. I don't know what to do. You press the submit button. I mean, there's some post panic. I also have had students that I worked with this year where we worked for months on their essays to top tier colleges. I know they didn't use AI. I was there. And they'll say, I put all of our essays, all of my essays into an AI detector, and it came back as 40% of the content is AI generated. So even when you don't use AI, students are finding ways to panic about it. And of course, my advice to them is stop doing that. These AI detectors are so unreliable. They will tell you the Declaration of Independence is AI generated.
AI generated, yep.
Exactly. And what's important is that you know in your heart and soul, also you have all the back work to show that you genuinely constructed these essays over time. But this doesn't sound like a bot wrote it. This sounds like you. You have nothing to worry about. So I think, there's a ton of fear related to that. I think students are, and we get calls from parents even after we've worked with their students again for months saying, you really didn't use AI, right? You didn't. You promise. We're not using AI. It's pervasive. Everyone is worried about it. And I think that will be very different next year just because the way people are applying this changes so quickly. What schools are asking you to do or not do is changing every day. Georgetown started off this year by having an anti-AI policy posted as related to the college essay, and it's not even there anymore. You can't find it. It's gone.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Very interesting.
Brown has a policy that you can't use AI for anything generative, anything outside of like a grammar or a spelling check. And so we've gotten questions about, can you use college SAI with this Brown policy in place, to which my answer is, I think you absolutely can. I don't think college SAI is any different than a college counselor, a high school teacher giving you feedback or instruction. It's not making anything that isn't yours. You're making everything. So I think it's going to be important for schools to delineate these distinctions and teach students how to use the tools in the right way. That's our responsibility now, so that we preserve the critical thinking skills and the creativity of the next generation. Is we need to show them how not to cheat themselves out of learning how to do the most important things and preserve their beautiful human functionality while also using these tools and leveraging them for what they're good at, which, in addition to it being helpful in the task at hand, they're going to be expected to do in the business world and beyond, because everybody's using these forever until the end of time, like the internet, I think.
It brings up so many questions, because we also know that, playing a little devil's advocate, like wealthy students in the past 15 to 20 years have had access to tutors and
100%.
essay college consultants, college essay writing help, all the different kind of consultants. And I'm wondering if now with AI, like, do you think that will help become more of an equalizer, that more students will be allowed to, or more students will use it the same way students are using consultants? Do you think, I know that is one thing that you are really driven towards, is equity in the college essay writing process. So what are you thinking about all of this?
Yeah, our goal with College SAI was to make our expertise more accessible to more people. In addition to there being class differentials in terms of who can access what help, there also is bandwidth. There are bandwidth issues in terms of human to human, how many people there are that can help students on a one-on-one basis. So we wanted something that was easy to access and that would democratize the application process even further. And in my opinion, access to information is the great equalizer. So, and this is accessible. These tools are accessible. There are free versions of these AI tools. Outside of the common application and the college admissions process, there's free access to these tools. We also have a partial free trial of our tool if people want to give it a shot before they sign up. All colleges right now there's a huge bidding war for the businesses at universities between all of the big AI engines. That's all going to be included with their college admission. Like, people will have access to these tools, I believe. So I do think that it's going to be much easier for students at at all levels of income to get their hands on this stuff. And I do think it will have an equalizing impact.
Yeah, I hope so.
Me too.
December 6th, 2022 was literally a week after ChatGPT went public, and The Atlantic published an article that the headline was, "The college essay is dead." And so here we are, 3 years later, colleges are still requiring it. You still have a job.
Yes.
I still have a job, but there's always these kind of rumors that colleges are going to, is the college essay going to die out? What are colleges going to do? So what do you think, over the next 5 years, like, do you think the college essay is going away? Do you think there's different things that are going to replace it? Like in your crystal ball, which I know you don't actually have, what do you think?
I mean, we thought the SAT and standardized testing was gone 2-3 years ago, and it's back. For some reason, I think that higher education is very attached to the model they have created. It seems like it's very hard for them to let go. I mean, I also think, and I'm very biased, but I'm also right, the college essay is one of the more valuable tools in admissions decision-making. It's one of the only windows an admissions officer has into the human side of an applicant. And I think they want and they need that. I think that's pretty critical in making those fine line, hard decisions between applicants who otherwise have a lot of the same qualifications, have similar test scores, have resumes that are just bursting with activities. And I think that the essay could potentially take different forms. We might have some online interviews. We might have in-person essay writing. We might, who knows what form this will take, but I do think that personal storytelling is always going to be coveted as part of this process. And until we implant chips in our brains,
no,
it's not going to be able to be, these stories can't be imitated by machines. They can't be generated. You still need the human person to make these stories authentic and valuable. So I think that, again, until we're robots ourselves, I think it's going to be a pretty important differentiator for applicants for a while. That's my guess.
And one of the things I'm wondering about and where your thoughts are, and because I help a lot of kids with essays, and like there's kind of two sides to that essay. There's the side that is the story, and then there's the side that is the writing. And in some ways they can be separated because I've seen amazing stories and mediocre writing and outstanding writing with mediocre stories. And I've also seen excellent stories and excellent writing and mediocre stories and mediocre writing. And, as a college essay advisor, like how much do you help that mediocre writing become excellent writing? And how much do you let be kind of remain? I don't know. I mean, it's so hard.
My main goal when advising and or editing an essay is to preserve the student's voice. I don't want that essay cannot sound like a 42-year-old woman. That essay has to sound like the 17-year-old who wrote it. So no matter what advice I give, no matter what I scribble in the margins, my goal is not to impact the voice as much as I possibly can. I really don't. If a student is at a certain level of writing, that's in all likelihood reflected in their English grades. It's reflected in other potential assignments they're submitting. It's I think it's the application as a whole has to cohere and make sense. And if that writing is elevated beyond what a student is naturally capable of, just something seems fishy to admissions. It's very clear. I also personally think that as you were setting up this question, I was thinking, which of these things is more important, the story or the writing? And I might say today, maybe I'll change my mind about this, but I think the story is probably more important. I think being able to communicate, and that doesn't mean that incredible writing skills don't help you get that message across more successfully. But I do think that finding something compelling to write about it's probably the hardest part of the essay writing process. And that ultimately, as long as you put effort into the writing, you polish it, you work on it for more than 2 hours, you do the best job you possibly can within your natural abilities, I think writing is probably secondary, honestly. We're not all great writers. I'm terrible at math. If you test me in arithmetic, maybe not arithmetic, but whatever. If you test me in anything advanced, I'm not gonna do well. It's just not my skill set. And if I did, something would be strange. So I think leaning into your natural abilities and where you fall is the only way to be authentic.
And I think that can sometimes be almost obvious in your writing. Like if you,
Mm-hmm.
and that's going to be play into admissions as well. Like you were applying to have a career somewhere in the humanities, marketing, whatever. So your writing piece of the essay is going to be really important. Where if I have somebody who's super STEMmy, writing may not be their strength, but man, they've gotten a 5 on Calc AB and Calc BC, like, and they're, so there's pieces of everything.
The other thing too is an interesting story and like a well plotted out story structure does a lot to guide the writing. And I don't love flowery writing or writing that's overworked or that I'll always advise against stuffing too many unknown vocabulary words in there. So I think like simple and clear writing is really effective in this assignment. So if you have a great idea and you kind of know where you want the structure to fall, I actually think that the writing sometimes falls into place, and having a unique stylized voice is definitely not necessary.
As someone working with high schoolers all the time, for teachers that are listening to the podcast that are terrified of AI in the classroom, and we have lots of humanities teachers that are like hesitant or don't love it, but you do encourage students to use AI. So what's something specific or a prompt a teacher could use tomorrow to show students how to use AI well without cheating? What might you guide them to do?
I love this. Michigan's LSA honors prompt this year asks students to write an essay using AI. And then it asks them to write a secondary essay detailing what the chatbot got right versus what it didn't. I think a similar exercise where you ask ChatGPT to write an essay about a historical event and then you have to fact check the essay and give it a grade, or you have to critique the essay written by the machine and talk about how you would make it better. I think doing something to show students and teach them the strengths and weaknesses of these tools firsthand is going to be really helpful. I think, a lot of companies are using these kinds of comparative assignments as they're giving candidates tests to get their jobs. Like, here's an article written by ChatGPT, edited critically. So just to see, even if we're encouraging you to use these tools, how will you use your human brain to enhance this and make it better? And where does your creativity kind of add an extra shine to things?
All right, so we're going to wrap up with some of my rapid fire questions.
Okay.
Is there a phrase or a tell that you see in essays that screams, I used ChatGPT?
I wouldn't say there's so much a telltale word or phrase, but more so just like a word salad that feels AI-ish. Essays that don't sound like a 17-year-old wrote them, or where the same information is repeated again and again to hit the word count. It's so many words, but not really saying anything at all. They might sound polished, but they also don't say anything. And then, of course, there are the telltale M dashes and the cliche takeaways without meaningful reflection, like the proof is in the pudding. And overly sanitized, detached language, like saying in the collaborative setting instead of just in the classroom, or instead of making friends, cultivating lasting relationships. Like, it just more buttoned up speech than a person would ordinarily use, especially in an essay that's supposed to be a little more relaxed, a little more conversational. I've also read a few ChatGPT essays in which the word impact is in every other sentence. So it's not checking itself for these things. But within about 14 seconds, if an essay has been written by AI, I can smell it.
Matt and I call it the AI stink.
Yes, it is the AI stink. So true.
All right. So I am a parent to a 14 and 16-year-old. So college essay time will be around the corner.
Mm-hmm.
If I walk in and see my kid using ChatGPT, should I be freaking out?
No, absolutely not. I think you should expect that they're going to use ChatGPT. And honestly, I think that that curiosity should be encouraged. We want students to know. We want our kids to know how to use these tools. We don't want them to avoid them, ignore them, bury their heads in the sand. But I do think you should have a conversation with your child. Ask them with real curiosity, what do you find this most useful for? Where are you using this? Like, open up an honest conversation to find out kind of what their experience is like. And then that perhaps can lead into a conversation about what's ethical and what actually makes sense in terms of, again, not cheating yourself out of an education, not doing something dubious in terms of handing in schoolwork. So I think it's an opportunity to talk about it that I would take.
Awesome. And last question, what is your favorite current AI tool or platform of the moment?
It really is College AI. It's just because I play with it so much. And I've spent so many hours using it. But honestly, I'm a daily ChatGPT user. It's basic, but I use it for so many things. I find it to be really helpful. And, as it does, it knows me now. So it's very helpful. Mm-hmm. It's very helpful to me. So like so many others, I'm finding that to be really, really useful. My partner uses Claude. We compare our results all the time. It's pretty fun. So yeah, I'm out there experimenting with the big boys like everybody else.
All right. That's great. So it's been great to talk to you, but remind everybody how they can find you, your website, your book. What do we want to make sure our audience leaves with?
Of course. So my company, College Essay Advisors, you can find at collegeessayadvisors.com. If you're looking for one-on-one essay help, also a ton of free information. We have a full school-specific supplemental essay guide. We have tips about how to work on the personal statement. We have a YouTube channel you can access from there. Just a ton of accessible info. And College SAI can be found at collegeess.ai. We're on Instagram and TikTok, and I am making so many videos for that all the time. Please make that worth it for me at College Essay Advisors on both platforms. I am talking to my phone all day long. And my book is called The Uncommon College Essay, An Approachable Guide to an Intimidating Process. And it is available wherever books are sold, pretty much. Barnes & Noble, Amazon, Bookshop.
Yeah. And it is a really great resource. I have already used it with students that I am writing essays with and wrapping up that process. And as Stacy said when we got on today, that it is the time that kids are getting their early decision, early action.
It's a very exciting week.
An exciting and stressful week, we know, for lots of students, parents, and teachers.
So true.
Stacy, it has been such a pleasure to talk to you.
Same. Thank you so much.
All right, Liz, it's time for a Bright Bite.
All right. So the title of this one is New Artificial Intelligence Model Could Speed Rare Disease Diagnosis. That sounds promising.
From Harvard.
Yes, it's from Harvard in Massachusetts.
Did you miss me?
Yeah, so much. I did miss you. Harvard Medical School news. So Harvard researchers have developed POPEVE, P-O-P-E-V-E, an AI model that ranks genetic variants by their likelihood of causing severe disease, improving rare disease diagnosis. So it's built on a previous tool called Eve, EVE. So PopEve combines deep evolutionary data, human genetic variation, and protein modeling to compare variants across genes. It has already helped diagnose about 30% of previously unsolved cases in a 30,000 patient cohort, which is really cool. It's uncovered 123 novel gene disease links. So it avoids the ancestry bias and overprediction issues common in regular AI tools. So PopEve is now being tested in clinical collaborations and integrated into public databases with potential to accelerate both diagnoses and drug discovery. This is so cool.
Yeah, another great example, like big data, analytical AI power. Yeah, remarkable.
Looking at the genetics and so cool.
If you're still with us, we have a favor to ask. In the spirit of Kwanzaa, Hanukkah, Christmas, all the holidays, Liz needs a gift.
I do.
You know what you need?
I need ratings.
And more followers on LinkedIn.
And followers.
I've been begging. That's my new beg.
Okay.
Yeah, so if you're on LinkedIn, do us a favor and follow Liz, follow myself. Actually, we both just this morning got a really nice request for a connection from a Chat.edu listener, which we appreciate.
Thanks, Rob.
Yeah, with 2 Bs.
Yes.
And so, yeah, we would be deeply appreciative because in reality, not just because it strokes our ego, Liz and I both post a lot of content there. It's just a nice place to kind of share what we're thinking and also get people's input. And also, if you follow the Chat.edu page, we have been doing vertical videos on a regular basis.
Matt in his car.
Matt in his car. So feel free to follow along. A lot of it's, on LinkedIn is podcast clips. If you follow us on TikTok or YouTube, then you get a heavy dose of the Matt in his car thing.
Yes.
All right, Liz, fantastic. So nice to have you back in the studio.
So nice to be back in the studio. This is the first week that I am not going anywhere but my home and my office in a long time.
Fantastic. So we're here today. We're going to be back here next Monday, which will be right before the Christmas break.
Correct.
Right. Then we're going to be back here on the 29th, which is going to be right before the, New Year's break. Those all kind of come out. We record on Monday. They come out after Christmas, after New Year's.
Yep.
And then the following 2 weeks, we're going to be together, but online. I'm in Wyoming. We're going to do a couple things where you'll be in your home and I'll be in a hotel room, which just sounds fantastic.
It'll be great.
Okay.
We're making it work.
We're making it work. Thanks, everybody. Deeply, deeply grateful. Appreciate you all. And with that, I believe it is time to... By the way, they all did a great job.
They did.
I didn't have to cue them. I was just like, all right, it's time to. And they go...
Roll the credits.
Fantastic.
As always, we'd love to hear what you think. So please let us know at chatedu@edadvance.org. That's EDADVANCE.org. And also rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast on whatever platform you are using. Chat.edu is brought to you by EdAdvance, the nonprofit regional education service center in Litchfield, Connecticut. This episode of Chat.edu is sponsored by the National Center for Next Generation Manufacturing. Chat.edu is recorded, edited, and produced by Andre Angelo and Justin Pasco, whose dedication and expertise bring our discussions to life. Chat.edu's executive producer is the multi-talented rock star Cameron Audia. Additionally, we are grateful for the support of our colleague Gary Robinson, and we appreciate his time and talents. And of course, a big Chat.edu shout out to our fearless leader and executive director, Jonathan Costa, for inspiring the pod. And finally, a heartfelt thank you to our listeners for joining us on this journey exploring the thoughtful and innovative integration of AI in education.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jonathan Costa, and I am the Executive Director at EdAdvance, and I want you to know how much we appreciate our listeners. If you enjoy the podcast, feel free to explore EdAdvance's other AI services, which include customized professional learning of all kinds, conferences, our new middle and high school student AI literacy course, and our educator and leader micro-credential, co-sponsored by the Southern Connecticut State University Office of Workforce and Lifelong Learning. Just visit skills21.org/AI to learn more. That's all for now, and thank you for listening to Chat.edu.